Uh, Good evening. My name is Hawkins. I'm wearing Rufus's mask. I'll take it off. If I can take it off. Oh, yes. That's much better.
All right, yes.
This is the real me. I'm Odie.
Okay.
And what we're doing this evening is continuing the reading of the inimitable Likka Sto Rufus.
Conversations with Likka Sto.
Conversations with Likka Sto Rufus.
Right.
I'm on chapter 16.
Okay.
And I'm going to do two chapters, 16 and 17, because they're both short. But let's see what happens if time will allow us to do that. As you know, Rufus is a bit snarky. So when you hear snarkiness, you will know that that is Rufus speaking. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, look at here, big shot. Why don't we get a couple burgers and get on back over to the beach? You like the ocean, don't you? I always did. I remember going to Da Nang. What's that? Sounds South Vietnamese to me. Willie, you are so impatient. Yeah, Da Nang was sort of like an R&R resort in Nam. It was almost as though you were in another world for a couple hours, or maybe a couple of days. Well, it seemed like that. No war anywhere else. Anywhere close, I should say. We strolled down to the beach a bit to what had become our conference spot. Beautiful October day in California. Hard to believe that the country right behind our sand dune was on fire, literally. So what about these white folks you said you want to think on it? You wanted to think on. You turned his snarky look my way, sipping from his jumbo Coke. You think I was lying to you? Uh-oh. Be careful. Don't let him lure you into one of his Rufus cul-de-sacs. No, sir. I know you would never lie. Willie, quit. Quit. You talk more shit than a Thanksgiving turkey. You know me by now. You know when I say I'm going to do something, it's a done deal. Now, then, having said that, which is what everybody is saying these days, let me give you my spin on this. I've almost pinned it down to about 4 things, maybe 5. Number 1, Donald Trump is a white man. You have to understand what that means for real. In the same way that most human beings think they are superior to all the animals on the earth, which makes us human supremacists. Dig where I'm coming from? Almost. Don't stop till you get there. Don't be trying to tell me what to do. Yep. Then it was that bipolar flare. I simply nodded neutrally. Trump, as a white man in America, which means for millions of white people, that he is supposed to be the alpha dog in this country, if not in the whole world. They believe this, like some folks believe in the Bible or the Quran. And the basis for that belief is that the man is white. That's one of the reasons why they're willing to go to his COVID-19 spreader rallies, why they ignore his lies. He is the absolute best pathological liar of our time. They ignore his criminal behavior, all of the garbage, because he is a white man. Rufus, are you saying that all white people in America? Willie, my brother, read my lips. I'm saying white people, period. When or if you can ever get that jive-ass white liberal to admit the bone-dry truth, he'll reveal that he believes in the white man thing too. I felt tempted to argue the point, but I chilled. I didn't want to inhibit his flow. He takes a crop and smears their faces in it and they eat it up. I think for him, he came along at exactly the right time. He paused to slurp up the rest of his coke. He had found his groove. I could relax. Think about this, Willie. Writer, if you will. Can you think of any black person, especially a black male or a brown person or a Native American or an Asian of any type, who could blunder from one scandal to the next, who could run all of the games that beast monster is, that's what your lady calls it, exactly that, and still be sitting on the white stool? I think not. That's what makes me say all white folks. If the white people had wanted to shut this shit down in the beginning, they could have done it, because, as you know, white folks in America are very powerful. I don't want to hear no bullshit about Democrats, Republicans. When it comes down to what I'm talking about, am I making you late for a date or something? Rufus, stop trying to play on me. I'm getting sick or tired of this shit. I really meant it. Rufus, a.k.a. Melvin Montaigne Dixon III, an astute observer of the human being, felt that I was becoming pissed off at this play on my psyche. He switched to cool immediately. So, as I was saying, as I just explained, white is right for millions of whites in America. This is the point two of what I'm talking about. As much as white people in America hate to acknowledge this fact, undercurrent racism has always been a driving big force behind every damn thing white America has ever done or have been about. Check it out. These Europeans found their way over here, killed all the Native Americans they could find, enslaved all the Africans they could catch, excluded as many Asians as they could, and claimed that they had discovered this place because they had superior firepower. You see, Willie, that was the thing that made them white men. Being white means that you considered everybody else inferior to all people who were white. This has been reinforced so much over the years. You have millions of these white people who believe that they believe their own propaganda. You understand what I'm saying? I think it would be pretty hard not to understand. But let me ask you this. How long will this white man syndrome last? He sifted the sand through his fingers, something he did when he was giving serious thought to something. You know something, man? I've given a lot of thought years ago when these young white people helped to get me out of San Quentin 3 years before my official release date. You didn't tell me about that. I was going to have to sooner or later. Yeah, that's what happened. These people belong to something called the Innocence Project. They went around digging into prison files and stuff like that to find people who had been unjustly convicted. When they got to my case, they told me I shouldn't have been convicted in the first place. I definitely agreed with them, and after 6 months of yang and back and forth, I was released. How much time? I had done 7 years. I'd like to hear more about what they did to get you released, but let me go back to my question. How long will this white man syndrome last? I used to think it would be over during my lifetime, you know, during the 60s. But then I started looking at things with realistic eyes, and I had to conclude this shit ain't never gonna end. Never. Let me put a couple of stipulations on that. It may end when the last white man is dead, or when some really and truly courageous white people put in the kind of work needed to get them and the rest of their folks out of jail. You see it like that? Yeah, I see it. That's just where I see it. Millions of white folks are locked up behind racial walls. Some of them have been locked in by circumstances beyond their control. Others have locked themselves in because they're desperately afraid that we're going to treat them the way they treated us. when we get into the power seat. Both of these groups need to have some good lawyers on their case. Rufus turned his face away from me. Was he smiling or crying? I spent a hard hour or two puzzling over his white man syndrome theory. Casually, I wanted to dismiss the whole thing until I started doing some serious thinking. I had to admit he had a point. White folks in America, after all of the pain and misery they had inflicted on people of color, should be fearful of how they would be treated when we occupied the power seat. But how could I say that to them without sounding racially offensive? People of color would never behave like y'all have behaved. There's no history anywhere of colored people slaughtering white people just because they were white, or enslaving white people just because they were white, or discriminating against white people on a national level just because they could. I felt a real urge to get back to Rufus about this and a whole bunch of other stuff. I was beginning to really feel that I had an interesting can of worms in my notebook. No Rufus. My third day of being in the mall parking lot waiting for Melvin Montaigne Dixon III to appear. No Rufus. I really felt vulnerable. What if he decided to just say, that's it, that's all, to hell with it? I really felt he could do something like that. I checked the time. 1 p.m. His work schedule was from 11 to 2. He had made that absolutely clear. I was 30 seconds away from driving away when this woman, one of the resident members of the liquor store parking lot gang, moved toward me, gesturing for me to wait a minute. Strangely, she was the only member of the gang on the scene at that moment. I had no idea where the rest of the members were. It didn't matter all that much. This heavy-set woman, middle-aged, full up front and ample behind, reminded me of my Amin. That was the way I always referred to her, Amin. The game started the minute she puffed up to the passenger side of my car. She had a single and bright mask on, otherwise I would have double-clutched off the scene. Honey, you looking for Rufus, huh? I nodded yes, I wanted to see what the deal was. Well, let me ask you this. Could you help me out? I can tell you some information about Rufus. I looked at her eyes. I remember her telling me the difference between drugstore Rufus and my man Likka Sto Rufus. There was something about her earnest approach. What kind of information? Like I said, could you help me out? I felt powerful and greedy at the same time. I had something she wanted and she had something I wanted, maybe. What do you want? It wasn't hard to guess. Her hands were shriveling on the open door of my car. She wanted a drink. I just wanted to buy myself a little taste, that's all. My check is late and I didn't want to hear the whole sorry-ass story. Hey, you say you have something to tell me about Rufus? Yes, sir, I do. I hated hearing her say that, this middle-aged woman. She was probably old enough to be my grandmother. As luck would have it, I had 3 $20 bills in my pocket. I gave her one. I could see that alky gleam light up her eyes before she shuffled off to Mr. Kim for her fix. What could she tell me that I didn't already know? A few minutes later, she shuffled back over to the car, putting her scrappy-looking, patting her scrappy-looking ditty bag. What'd you get? Oh, I bought a pint of Courvoisier. I like a little nyak when I can afford it. I had to smile. Here was a dedicated cheap wine drinker telling me that she liked cognac when she could afford it. Oh well. So what do you want to tell me? Could we go somewhere else? I wouldn't want to have Moses and the rest of them see us talking. Damn, this was becoming complicated. Just what I didn't need. But I was curious. What the hell? Where to? Second Hill ain't too far. Okay, Signal Hill, but I don't have that much time. You sit in the back and don't take your mask off, okay? That's cool, I understand. I opened my window and rolled the passenger window down. I want to have as much ventilation in the car as possible. If I'd heard her cough one time, I would have stopped the car and put her out. Signal Hill, a few blocks east on Pacific Coast, a left turn on Cherry, north to Skyline Drive, a right turn up the hill to Signal Hill. Nice day to be on the hill. She was halfway out of the car the minute I parked. Be right back. I got out and walked her to get to the ladies. I felt for her. She had to guzzle a few swallows to calm her nerves. It took her a couple of minutes. Just a few old duffers walking around, little old ladies walking their little dogs. Come on, we can sit at the table over there and take off our masks if we sit at opposite the end of the table. There's a nice breeze, so we don't have to worry about infecting each other. You know all about this viruses and stuff, huh? Not everything, just what I read and what the health care people tell us. We took our positions, properly spaced on the opposite side of the stone picnic table, and took off our masks. Funny thing happened when the pandemic hit and the intelligent people started wearing masks. It became a sort of unusual surprise to see the whole face. What's your name? This is Annette Glover, but for some reason everybody call me Molly. Molly, my name is Willie. I know, Willie. I got a medium-sized Coca-Cola cup. You mind if I pour this Courvoisier into this cup? That way, if the police come up on us, we won't have no bottle. I think that's smart. That's a smart thing to do. I watched her dip her hand into a ditty bag and do a slick tilt of the pint bottle of Courvoisier into her cup. She was smooth. A pleasant-looking, nut-brown skinned face, about 60-something. She probably looked the way she looked when she was much younger, except for the soggy effect of the alcohol on her features. Be right back. She shuffled away to toss the empty pint bottle into a nearby trash can. Police be messing with folks about drinking in the park and whatnot. It was easy to guess that her deep southern accent meant one of the ex-Confederate states, but I didn't want to get into linguistics. You want to tell me something about Rufus? She took a water glass swallow of her neck and looked off into the distance before she spoke. Rufus playing long con on you, honey. What makes you think so? I know that for a fact. That's what he do. I'm sure I must have stared at her face for a full minute, trying to figure out what to think about what she had just said. Long con. I knew enough about the games to understand what she had just dropped on me. She took a smaller swallow from her cup, staring into my eyes. He asked you for any money to go see his wife and sons in Australia yet? You know, dry bag on you? Miss Molly was obviously a bit tipsy now, but there was a ring of truth in her question. No, not yet. But you know, it's hard for me to believe that he's making up all this stuff about being a tunnel rat in Vietnam and all the rest. Why you say that? He got a good brain in his head just like you do. You make up stuff too, don't you? She was passing the cup to me before I reached for it. I didn't sip. I took a full Molly swallow. To the hell with germs. Please, don't stop now. I'd like to hear more of this. Well, what else do you want me to say? How does he pick the people he wants to play on? Rufus slick, baby. He don't pick them out. He let them out pick him. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not sure. Run it down to me. All right. Let me go to example. This old white man show up at the liquor store. Old white man, you know the type, so wrinkled up and white, look like they've been wrung out and hung up to dry. She obviously enjoyed seeing me smile, but she wasn't overjoyed to see me take another big sip from the cup. I put her anxiety at ease. Molly, don't worry. we can take my change from this first pint and I'll add the rest for another pint. She nodded, pleasantly lit up. So what happened with the old white man? I knew from my Rufus time that I had to keep her on track. Well, you know how Rufus do people when they try to throw some spare change his way? He won't accept that. He wants paper money, not metal money. That's exactly right. Now, you know that kind of freaks some folks out. A panhandler? A beggar man trying to set the terms of the deal? Oh, no, sirree. But they come back because they can't help themselves. That's what happened between Rufus and the old white man. Just like with you, we could see it happen right in front of our eyes. I don't know all the details, but the way it was told to me was that he, Rufus, wanted to go back to Australia to see his wife and son, or something such as that. Like I said, this is the way it was told to me. And he managed to come up with some kind of fairy tale that shook $2,500 out of the old white man's bank account. On one level, I just couldn't accept what she was saying to me. On the other hand, I felt she was telling me the truth. How did she know about his wife and son in Australia? I decided to use one question as the deciding factor. Molly, how do you know about this wife and son thing in Australia? She took a long sip from her cup before answering. You know how men is when they done had a few, but Rufus doesn't drink. You're right about that, he don't drink now, but if you brag on what you did to people who do drink, then the word get out. I almost had to wrestle the cup out of her hand to take another sip of the cognac. I was thunderstruck by what I was hearing. You mean to tell me this guy has made all of this stuff up? Molly, why do you think he comes up with his wife and some foreign country stuff? I don't know, tell you the truth. But I can tell you this much, it works. You got to remember, Rufus been doing what he's been doing for a long time, all up and down. All up and down California. He don't go too far north because he don't like the cold weather so much. Maybe I should say he go from here down to San Diego and back a lot. Are you telling me that he pulled the scam off in San Diego too? That's what I've been told. Why wouldn't he do what he's doing? Why wouldn't he do what he's doing in different places? If you figure out something that's working for you, why stay in one place? The cognac, just enough in my empty stomach to give me a slight buzz. The thought circled around in my head. Truth is stronger than fiction, much stronger. Willie, I was pleased to hear her call my name without sounding differential. Honey, what you got to understand, if you're going to survive out here on these mean streets, you got to develop some street smarts. Rufus ain't really doing nothing super special. I guess you could say he done learned how to lie better than most people. She drained the cup as we stood up to leave. She was drunk, but not sloppy drunk. I was tempted to ask her a few questions about herself, but canceled the thought. I had enough on my plate already. We pulled our masks on as we approached the car. Molly, what made you decide to tell me about Rufus? I thought you hadn't heard my question. I repeated as we positioned ourselves in the car, her in the back seat, far right, and me behind the wheel. I heard you the first time. I heard you. I can't rightfully put my finger on the reason. Maybe it's got something to do with being a Christian woman. I was pretty deep in the church before I got drunk. She made the statement in such a matter-of-fact way. I looked up at her face in the rearview mirror. Her eyes were glittering like marbles, like she wanted to cry but couldn't. Yeah, before I got drunk, I paid strict attention to what was right and what was wrong. My mom and daddy put that in me. So I guess I just feel bad when I see people trying to do other people wrong. You know, when you're out there in these streets, you see so much dirt going down, you get used to it. That ain't supposed to be me. I still know right from wrong. Look, why don't you let me off in the middle of the block? it wouldn't do me no good for Moses and others to see me with you. I understand. I slipped her a 20 as she was getting out of the car. Oh, honey, you don't have to give me this. You can give it back to me if you don't want it. She gave an affectionate pat on my shoulder as she made her exit. Willie, you're a rascal, you know that? If you say so, Miss Molly. I drove away from her feeling I had spent an hour with one of my favorite aunts. My favorite aunts.
Your favorite aunts.
And that's the end of chapter 16. I can't go on to chapter 17 right now because I'm mentally and physically exhausted. I'm theatrically exhausted.
Theatrically exhausted? Well,
I'm just kidding.
This is good with your conversations with Likka Sto Rufus, but I see there's another book that's not Conversations with Rufus over your left shoulder.
Ah!
What is that?
This one?
Yes.
Oh. Let
That.
me reach for it. Can I make it?
I think so. There you go. Got
This
it.
book is called A Storyteller's Story, and it's just been recently published.
Oh, it has.
I call it a semi-fictional autobiography.
Oh, and I see it's got the picture of
The picture that you took, the inimitable Zola Salena.
While we were on the cruise. Yes, okay.
And I love it.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. And so, kind of, what is it?
What does it cover?
What does it involve?
What do you mean?
What's the theme?
The theme is tell the truth about yourself and lie whenever necessary.
Something like Rufus.
Something like
I wonder where he got it
I know.
from. I wonder where he got it
Whoa!
from.
I just let the cat out of the bag. Right? I
Indeed.
guess you could say that. Yeah.
Well, very good, Odie Hawkins.
Yes.
I
You
appreciate
can get
that.
it. Where can you buy this book?
You can buy it at Author House or Amazon.com, or go on Google and just type in a storyteller's story.
Storyteller's story.
That's the title, by Odie Hawkins, and it will show you how you can order the book. All right? And
I think it's a good read.
I think it's a good read. It has pictures of
Okay.
ODA and Womaine
Oh, yes.
in it.
Yes.
And your books are on Amazon. Your author's page is on Amazon. On your website, www.odiehawkins.com, you also have an author's page, which is run by our friend Jason Williams, and the regular Facebook page. So you're just about several places,
Okay.
as well as on this ubiquitous
Hey,
YouTube.
I'll tell you what.
What's that?
Since we're so close to the end of the Rufus story, Conversation with Rufus, how about continuing this tomorrow evening?
Well, we could do that.
Okay, think about it. If you're not too busy,
Okay.
or we could postpone it until next Monday.
That sounds good.
I mean next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Next
Yes,
Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
I'm getting there's so much going on.
Keeping
so
things
much.
in order, definitely. Yeah. Oh, tomorrow I have Zoom.
Ah, of
That's
course.
right, and my Spanish class
Oh,
with Lisa Freeman.
well,
okay.
let's put it off then.
All right then. Well, until next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. It
Yes.